Want to know the secret to making almost any recipe lower in calories and higher in protein? Today I'm sharing 10 genius swaps, if I do say so myself, that I've personally used while losing over 100 pounds. By the end of this video, you'll see how easy it is to make your favorite meals packed with protein to fuel your body without the extra calories. Before we get into the swaps, let's chat a little bit about why you should even care about protein in the first place. And no, it's not just because the gym bros say so. Protein keeps you fuller for longer, helps preserve lean muscle mass, and ultimately boosts your metabolism, all of which are incredibly important for weight loss. But this is something that I don't really hear people talking a whole lot about, and that's protein density. Protein density is simply the percentage of an ingredient's calories that comes from protein. It's kind of how you identify whether an ingredient is actually high protein or whether it just has a really great marketing team. You can calculate protein density on your own. You're going to take the number of grams of protein times 4 and divide that by the total number of calories. So for something that has 100 calories per serving and 10 grams of protein, you would take 10 grams of protein times 4, which is 40, divided by 100, which equates to 40% protein density. I would consider anything over 30% to be a really solid high protein choice. So why should you even care about being able to calculate protein density? The biggest reason is because high protein has kind of become the new buzzword in food marketing, and companies love to just tack on the word protein or pro or high protein to an ingredient, even when the numbers don't back it up. For example, Oikos has 2 types of vanilla Greek yogurt. My personal favorite, which is the 000, has a protein density of 68%. But they also have another type of vanilla Greek yogurt called Oikos Pro. The label is clearly geared towards the high protein diet crowd. It says 23 grams of protein in bold, and of course it's called Oikos Pro meaning protein. But when you look at the numbers, Oikos Pro is only 57% protein density, meaning that it's 11% less protein, but it costs 40% more. So understanding protein density not only helps you eat smarter, but it helps save you some money in the grocery store too by not falling prey to the marketing tricks that have become so prevalent in today's grocery industry. Almost every swap on this list is over 30%. Which is why they work so well in recipes to lower the calorie count and raise the protein. Now, I didn't put this list together on my own. I actually worked with my dietitian at Nourish to make sure that it was completely spot on and I had the best possible options for you guys. Now, I am a Nourish partner today, but I wasn't when I first signed up last year. I've had a lot of questions since I started being more vocal about Nourish on this channel, so I wanted to share a little bit more about my experience with them so that you guys could understand why I feel that having a dietitian is so important. Honestly, I was really skeptical about Nourish before I signed up. I had seen them all over social media, but I had really negative experiences with nutritionists in the past, and I wasn't really sure that it would be worth it to meet with a dietitian. Still, I was really stuck in my weight loss journey at that point in time, and I knew something needed to change. I figured I had nothing to lose since almost everybody I heard talk about it said that their visits were free with their insurance. From the start, Nourish made it really easy for me. I got matched with several dietitians right away that I got to look through and decide who I wanted to meet with based on their specialties. They even came back and worked with my insurance to get the right codes put through to make sure that my visits were completely free. In fact, I've never paid for a single visit with a dietitian through Nourish over the last year, and I see her once a week. Over the last year, my dietitian has walked with me through weight loss, weight regain, depression, ADHD diagnosis, and of course, me quitting Wegovy. Having that kind of support has been a game changer for me. It's why I am so proud to partner with Nourish and why I talk about them so much on my channel, because there's so many of you who have told me that you are walking this journey completely alone, that you don't have an accountability partner or a cheerleader or someone to talk to, just someone to be there there with you through all of it. If that's you, I cannot recommend Nourish enough. 94% of patients pay nothing to see a dietitian with their insurance through Nourish. And it has been absolutely one of the most important steps that I've taken on my journey since October of 2021. So please don't try to do this alone. You deserve so much better than that. So now that you know where this list came from, let's dive into the countdown. To make sense of these swaps, we're gonna measure each ingredient's protein density against boneless, skinless chicken breast. With a protein density of 75%, it's kind of the gold standard for lean protein sources. And we're gonna count down from the lowest protein density to the highest. And spoiler alert, the top two actually beat out chicken breast. So we're starting strong with applesauce at 0%. I know what you're thinking. Why on earth would I start a high protein countdown with something that has 0 protein in it? Stick with me. The swap is actually sneaky powerful. The most calorically dense macronutrient is fat. It has 9 calories per gram, which is more than twice the number of calories as carbs and protein, with just 4 calories per gram. Applesauce, or pumpkin puree, or mashed bananas make a fantastic substitute for oil or butter in baked good recipes. They keep baked goods moist while reducing fat and overall calories, so that allows the other higher protein ingredients to make a much bigger impact on the final protein count. Just to give you an example, one of my favorite creators for baked good recipes is Cheat Day Design. He has a protein cinnamon roll recipe that is just chef's kiss. It is so good. I will make sure to link it down in the description below. As written with the applesauce, the protein density of that recipe is roughly 27%. To give you a point of reference, the Pillsbury cinnamon rolls that are so popular in the grocery store have a protein density of 5%. If you were to use light butter in place of the applesauce, that protein density would go down to 22%. If you use regular butter, it goes down to 16%. And if you were to use vegetable or some other type of oil, it would go all the way down to 14%. Just making that one change makes a huge difference in the final protein quantity of a dish. Coming in at number 9 on our countdown is cauliflower. If you were part of the diet crowd in the early 2000s, you know how popular cauliflower was. It was like the cottage cheese of the early 2000s. Cauliflower actually has a surprising amount of protein in it for a vegetable, coming in at a protein density of 26% all on its own. Now, I'm not a fan of swapping it out fully for rice or potatoes, as was so popular in the early 2000s. I just don't think the texture and flavor works as a full one-to-one swap. Adding a little cauliflower rice to your actual rice, total game changer. Larger volume, lower calories, more nutrients. However, you can pry my potatoes from a cold dead hands. Leave them alone. My favorite way to use cauliflower is to steam or cook cauliflower in a soup and blend it into the broth so that you get a thick and creamy soup with little to no cream involved. So for you vegans out there or people with dairy sensitivity, cauliflower is a fantastic addition to that. In fact, my favorite chicken corn chowder has an entire head of cauliflower in it, and you would never know. I can say that because my veggie hating husband absolutely loves that corn chowder, and he has zero idea that there is any cauliflower in it. I still add a little dairy for richness, but nowhere near as much as what I would need if it didn't have the cauliflower in there. Coming in at number 8 on the countdown is light Laughing Cow cheese. At only 25 calories per wedge, Laughing Cow is a protein punch in a creamy, flavorful package. You can swap this out for mayonnaise in sandwiches or cream cheese, pretty much anywhere you would use cream cheese, in dips, casseroles, pasta sauces, anything you want a thick, creamy, cheesy vibe to, you can swap this out for. I love the garlic herb flavor. It is absolutely amazing swapped out in spinach artichoke dip. half reduced fat cream cheese, half Laughing Cow. This weekend though, I whipped up some high protein ham and pickle dip wraps. It took 5 minutes to throw together, was only 83 calories with 8 grams of protein, and gave me total snack satisfaction without derailing my macros. We're up to number 7, and I have talked about these a lot on my channel. These are the La Banderita Carb Counter Wraps. Everyone thinks of high fiber wraps as a great way to lower the carb count and get in a good amount of fiber. But with the lack of carbs, there is a surprising amount of protein in these bad boys. They come in at 33% protein density on our scale. There are a ton of choices for low carb wraps, but La Banderita is my favorite because they're soft and fluffy, and they come in a huge variety of flavors, from the street taco size at only 30 calories per wrap to the large wrap size, which is big enough to make giant burritos for only 90 calories each. And you can use them for a lot more than just wraps. These have a ton of versatility. You can cut them up, spritz them with a little bit of oil, and throw them in an air fryer for chips. Or one of my favorites, use one of these large wraps and instead of making a burrito, heat it up in a pan, press it into an oven-safe bowl, and bake it in the oven at 350 for 5 to 8 minutes for a quick and easy tortilla taco bowl. And these ones pack in 18 grams of fiber, like 75% of your needed fiber for the entire day. Almost halfway there, and we are down to powdered peanut butter, which has a protein density of 45%. There are a lot of powdered peanut butter brands out there, but PBFit is my go-to. Powdered peanut butter is basically just defatted peanut flour. You can use it as a 2-to-1 swap for peanut butter, meaning 2 tablespoons of PBFit for every 1 tablespoon of regular peanut butter. But especially in recipes, I find that it yields the best flavor when you combine a little bit of the real stuff and make up the difference with the PBFit. A little bit of peanut butter goes a long way in the flavor department, and the PBFit allows me to add all the volume without all the calories. This week, I whipped up some delicious high protein Buckeyes. If you're from the South or the Midwest, you know how delicious Buckeyes are. I just swapped in mostly PBFit for the peanut butter, and I used applesauce to moisten up the PBFit instead of water. So it added some flavor, the moisture, and of course some extra nutrients as well. These were a creamy, chocolatey, satisfying sweet treat that I've been eating every day without blowing my calorie budget. At number 5, we have ultra filtered fat-free milk. This comes in fat-free 2% whole milk varieties. The most popular brand, of course, is Fairlife. I get the Mootopia brand from H-E-B, but I've also heard that Aldi has their own brand that's extremely affordable. I'm definitely gonna have to give that a try soon. This comes in at 68% protein density. Ultra-filtered milk, if you don't know, is just regular milk that has been strained through a special filter to remove some of the water, the lactose, and sugar while keeping in the protein and the calcium. The result is a creamier, higher protein, lower sugar milk that's great for cooking, baking, and just drinking. In fact, I'm not a huge fan of skim milk, but I can drink that fat-free ultra-filtered milk and it does not feel like I'm drinking skim milk. Now, it is more expensive than regular milk, which is always a concern, but in my house, if I buy a half-gallon of regular milk, it usually goes bad before I can use it all, causing me to have to buy more the next time that I need it for a recipe. One of the big pluses about ultra-filtered milk is that it stays good in my fridge for over a month, which saves me money in the long run, even though it's a little bit more expensive up front. You can use ultra-filtered milk anywhere you would use regular milk as a 1-to-1 substitute. Because some of the water has been removed, even the fat-free version is creamier and it only has 80 calories a cup. The whole milk version, I've even been able to use as a substitute for heavy whipping cream in soups and sauces. Now we're moving into some of the heavy hitters, starting with non-fat plain Greek yogurt. This one's whole milk because that's all that my store had when I bought it, but you get the picture. It has been a high protein superstar for a long time. A refrigerator staple for gym bros everywhere. You can use it as a 1-to-1 swap for sour cream. It tastes pretty much identical to me. or you can mix it half and half with light mayo as a healthier mayo alternative. Just Greek yogurt works for some people as a mayo substitute, but for me, the flavor and texture are way more balanced with the mix. It's just a little too sour on its own. For sweeter recipes though, I love using vanilla Greek yogurt like the Oikos 000 that I mentioned earlier. The tanginess of plain can be a little bit much for me in sweet recipes. And if you've never had my protein fluff, I've recently perfected the recipe by subbing out some of the cottage cheese for vanilla Greek yogurt, and it is an absolute fan favorite on my channel. And with the vanilla Greek yogurt, you can even mix in a little bit of sugar-free pudding mix, and it gives you more of a cream cheese consistency, which is really popular in no-bake cheesecake recipes. Plain Greek yogurt is also fantastic in 2-ingredient doughs to make things like pizza dough, pretzels, bagels, or to add creaminess to soups and casseroles. Just be careful not to heat it too much because it can curdle. We've made it to the top 3, and I know you can't believe that this is the first time this ingredient is making an appearance, but we've got 1% cottage cheese coming in at 71% protein density. This one surprises absolutely no one. Cottage cheese is having its moment right now, and it has been for over a year. And it is no wonder with almost as much protein per calorie as chicken breast. If you're not a fan of the curdy texture of cottage cheese, I highly recommend throwing it in a blender or food processor, or just using an immersion blender right in the container to blend it completely smooth. And once blended, it is a fantastic replacement for ricotta or even cream cheese in pretty much any savory recipe. I'm not a huge fan of cottage cheese in most sweet recipes, my protein fluff excluded, but in savory dishes, especially anything that calls for cheese, it really shines. There are probably thousands of high protein recipes out there that include cottage cheese at this point, but this week I tried my hand at making bagels for the first time using cottage cheese. I used everything bagel seasoning, and the texture on these was spot on. It was chewy in the best possible way and perfect for an open-faced sandwich with some Atkins ranch chips. Next time, I'll definitely only make 4 instead of 5 because they were a little tiny. At only 120 calories for 5 or 150 calories for 4, way better macros than anything that you can buy in the grocery store. Before we move on to the top 2 swaps, if you found this video entertaining or you learned something new, please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. What's your favorite high protein swap, whether it's on this list or not? Drop it down in the comments below. Taking on spot number 2 is Vital Wheat Gluten. At 82% protein density, it's one you should definitely get to know. I did not know that the bag that I was buying on Amazon was this large, so you're gonna be seeing a lot of Vital Wheat Gluten recipes over the coming months. Vital Wheat Gluten is the backbone of seitan, which is a vegan meat substitute, and it beats out chicken breast in protein density by 7%. Beyond making your own seitan, which I definitely want to try soon, you can swap out some of the flour in any of your baked good recipes. Anywhere from 10 to 50%, depending on what you're making, to boost the protein content of your baked goods. So for cookies, muffins, and quick breads, you can swap anywhere from 10 to 15%. For bread, you can swap 12 to 14%. And for pizza, bagels, and pretzels, where chewy texture is what you're looking for, you can swap up to 30 to 50%. Just this last week, I used Vital Wheat Gluten to supercharge a pizza dough recipe and make a high protein copycat version of the California Pizza Kitchen barbecue chicken pizza. It was absolutely divine and so easy to make. The one caveat I will tell you is that the more Vital Wheat Gluten you put in something, the chewier it's gonna get, because it is just straight up gluten, which is the thing that makes bread chewy. So maybe start on the lower side and then work your way up to make sure that the texture doesn't suffer just to add more protein. And we're on to the #1 protein dense ingredient on our swap list. And I don't have any of this right now because I used it all. That is bone broth, chicken bone broth to be precise. It has a protein density of 89%. Bone broth has more protein than chicken. How does that work? I don't know, but I am excited about it because not only is this the most protein dense ingredient on our list, it's probably the most versatile. Bone broth can boost the protein content of almost any savory dish, and it's packed with collagen, which is fantastic for your hair, nails, and skin too. Boost the protein content of any pasta dish by foregoing boiling the noodles separately, adding in a couple of cups of bone broth to the sauce, and just boil the noodles directly in the sauce. The awesome part about that is that then the pasta soaks in the flavor of the sauce too. You can use it as a base for creamy sauces to reduce the amount of cream or half and half that you need to add. Add moisture to your chicken salad and reduce the amount of mayonnaise that you need by adding a couple of tablespoons of bone broth. The options are practically endless. The Kirkland brand from Costco has the best macros that I've found, and it's a little bit more affordable too. Of course, you could always just make your own. And that is a wrap. 10 simple swaps to make your favorite recipes more filling, more nourishing, and totally weight loss friendly. If you found this video helpful, please go ahead and hit the like button and drop a comment telling me which swap you're the most excited to try. Bonus points if it's one that you've never heard of before. And if you're interested in getting the kind of support that I've had from Nourish, I'll leave my link down in the description for you guys so that you can check them out too. Here's to smarter swaps, higher protein, and recipes that actually help you reach your goals without sacrificing flavor or your sanity. Thanks so much, you guys, for being here. I love you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.